Good evening, everybody. My name is Amanda, and I'm speaking to you from the unceded land of the Wurundjeri people in Melbourne, or Naarm. And I'm here to talk to you tonight about the budget as regards the Cashless Debit Card program. I am Policy and Legislation Analyst for the No Cashless Debit Card Australia Group, or NCDCA. And we've been operating, fighting, protesting, anti-propaganda and speaking in Senate about the cashless debit card for the last 6 years now. Our biggest beefs, we have 3 of them with the budget, and they are the secrecy, the AANT, and the announced spending after during budget explanations, they actually announced further spending. So I'm going to get started on those. It's a little complex and I may have to divert, but I'll be as brief as possible. And I'd just like to thank the organisers of, Break the Poverty Machine for their invitation to speak. So first issues first, the most obvious one is the big NFP across the whole of the first section of the cashless debit card information in the budget. Not for publication is not new. It's something that they have been doing consistently for the last few years. But in November last year, they made all spending, all of it, all contracts, all of it, not just administrative costs, not for publication unless they publicise it. So we're the increase in secrecy, that is what we've noted since 2020, the end of last year, and that continues in here. If you can see the budget document before you, you'll notice that everything, the health, the services, Services Australia budget and AANT funding is all unlisted. The cost of these is not known. We have a big problem with that, obviously, as social justice, people in the social justice arena. We have a big problem with any Cafeesque style policy that removes governmental transparency, and to note the increase in that is deeply concerning. The other part of that first section of the budget document is that you will notice that the Administrative Appeals Tribunal funding ends in 2022, yet the program has been extended out to 2025. Now, this is a concern for us because we have not heard back from the Minister on a direct request to have the information. Are you going to drop AAT access for people on cards? I have emailed from 3 different addresses, and I've done everything possible to get the information before tonight, but I couldn't get it in time. I will try another call tomorrow and hopefully can have some news on that. But at this point in time, it looks like from the budgeting perspective alone that the AAP tribunal process for cardholders may indeed end in 22. Whether that is just a reflection of the sunset date and they don't want to budget or project out from that sunset date, which all trials, including basics cards and cashless debit cards and place-based income management cards, all end 22nd of December 2022. So it could be a reflection of that, but having grown a healthy sense of paranoia and scepticism about this government in the last 6 years, we're deeply concerned that this will ultimately mean that people who rely on this sole independent source for independent review of decisions made by the single source of authority, which is the Secretary, will no longer be available. This has become even more of a concern because in the last bill that just passed, the Minister basically gave themselves a set of godlike powers to overrule decisions made and determinations made by the Secretary in specific areas. So the Minister, a political appointee, will be able to make determinations on people's capacity, people's financial, psychological, emotional capacity. An unqualified, untrained, and certainly, politically motivated person will be having control over this program. The appeals tribunal process has been the only means for some cardholders to get off the card. The excuses that the government keeps putting out there for delaying this exit process for people have been challenged through the AAT, which is not yet a completely NLP organisation. And I think that has been irritating to the Department of Social Services. It's cost a lot of money for the Department of Social Services. services. But to understand the importance is that you have to understand the Services Australia, the Secretary of, of Department of Social Services, does not, is the only person that has control. You don't have a legal process. There is no hearing involved. There's no any of the fiduciary or guardianship rights that a normal person would have access to in a capacity hearing. A person on the cashless debit card doesn't have those. So the AAT process is very critical to the cardholder experience of the exit and wellbeing processes. That the minister can now revoke those at whim, both exit and wellbeing, at any time they choose. They can revoke that. The minister has that power, makes the AAT even more important. So that's the administrative, and that's the not for publication. The third part is the $30 million job ready budget package, whatever they've got, largest payment that they're making to JSAs and services in the trial zones. We worked it out to around 7.5 million as a trial site, and this money will not be tendered. This won't be a grants process or a funding opportunity for all services in any region. This money, what they're not telling, this money is going to preferentially appointed NLP and department approved agencies. So services that actually require funding in the region or would benefit from funding in the region won't even get a look in. There is not one service or any agency involved in the community body process and the community services process for the card that is not preferentially handpicked by the department themselves. So this has meant local services like church charities and things like this in the local regions have gone without funding. Save the Children have gone without funding. Other programs within these services that are preferentially appointed have gone without funding. What we did notice from the Adelaide University report was these services are reporting now that they're having an increase in distressed clientele, and some of them are reporting that they're using the CDC funding that they are getting for other programs that actually work. And these were two big revelations in that report. So I suggest anyone interested in the card goes and reads all three reports. So the job active spend of 1.6 million a year has had no impact in these regions. And this $30 million that was supposed to be to get people job ready is in a system that is already proven in 6 years hasn't been able to get people job ready. So we consider it a largesse payment. The other spending that was announced post-budget was $50 million for the territory rollout, which reflects a reduction from $129 million earmarked in the 2019 budget for that rollout. So, and that's reflective of the bill that passed last year. December 10, 2020, a bill passed that they had hoped would make it permanent program. The government had hoped it would be a full and complete mandatory rollout like it was with Enter in the beginning in 2007. That didn't happen. An epic fight went down, and at the end of the day, the government had to concede that to a 2-year extension of both basics cards and the cashless debit card, and a voluntary transition process for people on basics card in the Northern Territory to the cashless debit card. That's where government's rollout is focused right now, trying to get people off basics and into from the government run basics into the private corporate sector run in due cards. So that's where their focus is at the moment, but people need to be aware that the entire Northern Territory is a rollout zone. It's just an inactive one, except for people who are on basics cards. The minister has the power, again, granted themselves in the last bill, to nominate any area in the entire Northern Territory a card active zone at any time. So anyone on a Centrelink payment who becomes under the trigger payment list will be put on that card. So very quickly that 50 million could be chewed up in emergency rollouts in different locations. We don't know where it's actually going to be spent. We can't point to a region and say, yes, that entire region is going on the card, because they haven't nominated regions. They've been very careful to go very slowly, and they seem to be very keen to be working with the phrased the Queensland Commission, or what you might know as the FRC in Cape York in Queensland. People need to be aware that the Cape York program is completely different to every other card trial rollout. It is based on a notification process that starts in communities, within the Aboriginal community itself, by elders in the community. The program is run and managed on a local and social and then a small community level. It's the authorities are different. People are given time to exit, and they're supported in that exit process. They can also legally challenge. This is one of the main differences between basics being government run and NGU being private, is that people on basics retain their authority, legal rights and ownership of their payments, whereas under CDC they don't, and they're given no access to any of the legal processes. That's our big three bugbears: the AAT, the secrecy, okay, and the fact that the actual the spending additional to that has been released to the public is operating on the same principle that the NLP have operated on since day one with this program. They don't lie completely, they lie by omission. They will tell you half a story or a piece of the story, but not tell you the facts about it's like this $30 million. They say, look, shiny thing. And people go, oh, look at the money. But they forget that it's going to politically motivated, politically appointed businesses and services. But this budget does nothing to create jobs. It absolutely does nothing to help card participants themselves, who are going already to job active services and going through Impact, which until recently was actually run, and the CEO was an NLP state member. So that's how politically incestuous this is. We want to know where this 30 million is going. We want to know where the 50 million is going. We want to know where, all of these not-for-profit costs are going. And then we want to know where all the contracts are. We want to see them. We want to know who got them. We want to know how they got them. And this budget our reply is, this budget gives us nothing, no information on what's really going on. And with the 85.4% no positive impact is an even worse impact than was revealed by Dr. Janet Hunt, in the original Auroran report. And she calculated that 73% of people had no positive impact. So this is an increasingly devastating policy that is not just a waste of money, it's a waste of time and people's energies. It's a waste of political trust, and it is not solving any of the problems on the ground. In fact, the problems have got significantly worse. Thanks for letting me speak. I know it's been quite a long video than I thought it was going to be, but that's our points of view. That is our reply, that this gives us nothing. This gives the Australian people no information. It gives card holders nothing. And there is not one, again, in 7 budgets now, not one thing there about the welfare of people on the card themselves, looking after their needs and the impacts of the card in their life. There's nothing for social welfare of the people on the card. So we'll leave it on that, and thank you very much for your time.